Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Hot Spawn Hot Takes. And we've got a new special guest here today. We've got Zahk with us, our new Valorant writer. Welcome, Zahk. How's it going?
Kylie, it's going pretty good, I would say. Excited to be working with Hotspawn and to be here to yap about everything that's happening in Valorant and hopefully have some spicy takes that we can cook up together.
Cool. Well, we'll do some quick fire questions so the audience can get to know you. I would start with who's
Oh,
your favorite
okay.
team, but I think have you made that obvious today?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question really. I mean, I would say Fnatic is a close second, but gotta support the homeboys and also the team that plays the most like myself, I feel like sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I think
I
if you ask like 90% of Valorant fans, it's going to be Paper X or Fnatic, one of the two most likely. I'd imagine. At least they're the ones that like
mm,
nobody
I
really
mean, at
dislikes
least
them, do they?
Yeah, I mean, of course, if you're a person of culture, at least that's what I would say. Those are fighting words, I'm aware, but I said what I said, and yeah, that's my first hot take of today. I guess I agree with you. I don't think it's really a hot take. Yeah, you can't really find anything too offensive with them, but sometimes, at least when it comes to Paper X, there are accusations of excessive aggressiveness and stuff.
This makes it more
But
interesting, though,
I'm
doesn't it? It's not.
kind of glad that there has evidence. Yeah. I like it, man. I like the W key. Everyone's just holding angles and using utility barrages, which Paper Rex does it as well, but they do it in an interesting way, like all of those crazy stage balls.
And W stands for win, so isn't that's the win button, isn't it? Or it finally was for
It's
them
the win
in
button.
Toronto. Um, who's
Only took a
your
few years.
who's your favorite player then?
Forsaken. I mean, I also feel like everything in ranked, so I feel like at this point I can relate to the guy. The only thing I don't play is Breach because I just can't get the timings and I don't want to. It's really slow. And Raze because I just can't figure out how to satchel everything else I play at this point. So, and Waylay because I feel like she's the worst duelist, but again, controversial take. Probably
Fair
not though.
enough, fair enough. And who do you think is the best player ever?
Oh, that's a hard one. I think in terms of just performance and trophies and experience, I think Chronicle is definitely up there because of all the trophies that the man has racked up. But in terms of raw skill, again, I'm gonna have to say Forsaken. I mean, I get it, there's a bit of inherent bias, but this guy went from being like just a duelist, being playing Jet for his team, dueling with his buddy Jing, and then was growing into like different kind of roles, turning into a team's IGL, helping out like new players fit into the team. He's been like kind of like the backbone for Paper X, and I think being able to be that for a team, kind of like the position that Boaster is in for Fnatic, except that Forsaken, my boy, he's got like that MVP bracelet and stuff. So
True,
I gotta appreciate him for that.
true. And I know there's since it's like the Valorant fifth birthday, like there's all that kind of debate about that stuff at the moment, or there has been recently in like top five,
Mm-hmm.
top tens, and all that. And I think it's something as someone that came like from League of Legends originally, and where that's a game that's been going a lot longer as well. Like that, those debates come up all the time. And one kind of big difference I think
Mm-hmm.
is even just how you frame it as like best player or GOAT. And I feel like there is a big difference because like best player is who has been the best player of the game, like the best at playing the game in the server, which isn't necessarily the same as like the
Mm-hmm.
greatest player. I think greatest is more like legacy, and probably Chronicle
Yeah.
is like the easiest name to pick. But then best player, you could go in like different angles as well, like who has just had the best raw peak. And then Forsaken, given that he plays like absolutely every single agent as well, does that automatically bump him up a few points? Because I interviewed him at one point last year. I can't remember what it was for. It might have been like during Madrid maybe. Um, and I
Mm-hmm.
asked him about like just how he is like the most like the highest level I guess as like a flex main player. And he'd kind of said like, oh well, I think it's just because the game's been out a few years now, so it's easier to know the agents. And kind of saying like that he expected as time goes on that more players would be doing that. And then here we are like a year and a half later, and there's not really any more players doing that. So that still seems to be like quite uniquely a Forsaken thing. There we have it.
Yeah, I think to be fair to Forsaken, also there's like a lot of there's not a lot of teams that would try to cook up the same kind of comps that Paper X does at times. I mean, I'm not saying that they're in the wrong for it, but sometimes they give me heart attacks. Like I still remember watching like I think it was Copenhagen, the finals map between FPX and Paper X, and I still remember that comp that they brought in for Breeze, and I was like, what am I watching? And they almost made it work, but what drenched in my memory anyway, like entrenched for me
Yep,
there.
for sure. Let's start going through a bit of news, shall we? We can start with the one, probably the most recent massive news, is that Lakia is back on Gen.G. And this kind of came like out of nowhere. I didn't see. I know like he'd said he was looking for a team, but there was, and even just when I saw people like theory crafting where he could go, or even just like, on the main like Val comp thread, I like did not see a lot of people thinking he was going to be back on Gen.G. And then yeah, it just kind of come out of nowhere that he's re-signed for him. Yeah, what do you reckon?
Honestly, I'm pretty happy to see him back there because when he was there last year, I felt like that was one of the times that Gen.G seemed to be in the max, in like some of the best shape that we've seen them. I think that he was like a very integral part in that team being able to lift up that trophy at Shanghai. And I think that he was one of the players who's been waiting a really long time for it. And also, I think Lakia's case is kind of special because if I remember correctly, he took a break because he had a wrist injury.
Yeah,
And, now that he's back in shape, he's ready to compete. He's probably been doing studying like the region and Lakia as a player at all. I feel like he's kind of the person who's put in more work than ever to come back in. So I'm very excited about what this could mean, especially because Gen.G has had like a kind of rough year so far, like not good, not bad kind of thing. So I'm hoping that this would be kind of the kick they need to get back into the form they were showing last year.
yeah, cool. Yeah, because I was kind of going back and just like double checking the timeline of it. Because yeah, it was when Gen.G kind of let pretty much all the roster go to free agency, and it's weird. I don't know how. Like, obviously, there's not really that much detail on his wrist injury, but he did say like when he left Gen.G, he did like a looking for team post then, but then it was like a month later he just said like, oh yeah, I'm taking a break to focus on healing. But I think at that point didn't say what it was. I don't know if maybe he like had said it on stream or something. I'm just kind of going through what like he's posted like actively. And yeah, so he'd said like, oh yeah, I'm going to take a break for healing, and then I think it was in June. It said like, yeah, I'm ready to come back. My wrist is okay now. And here he is. And it's funny with Gen.G because like I think back to Toronto before they kind of collapsed, like right before they were not good, they were very good. So it's a weird one where they've kind of had pretty much as high highs as anyone, I think, at least in that tournament. But then here they are, like he could be their eighth different player to play for them this year. Like they're not even a bad team, but it's just like they're not quite getting to that level of winning a Masters again, essentially. So yeah, it's a tricky one. Like you could see a world where they suddenly come and they're like one of the main favourites at champs. I saw as well some guesses that it could just be even like longer term as a replacement for Munchkin as well. Because when Lakia said he was looking for a team, he actually offered to play as an IGL too, or he said that he could IGL if needed, which didn't sound like he was that keen on it. But
Yeah.
there you go. And then Munchkin is 27 at the moment. He turns 28 in March. I think in like the Korean military service, you have to have started by the time you turn 28. So I don't know if there could be, there's like no mention of actually if and when he is going. For all we know, he could have an exemption for some reason, which does happen sometimes. But yeah, there's some like guesses as well then that basically Lakia might be coming in, take over the IGL from Munchkin next year. Because one thing actually that I found kind of interesting about Gen.G's announcement, you just open it up quickly because I forget exactly how they worded it, but they kind of made it not 100% clear he'd even necessarily be on the starting, like on the actual playing roster. And from his reply as well, and the only reason I thought to check this was because I saw one person mention he was going to be a coach, and this was like totally out of nowhere, and I didn't see any actual like announcement or anything official. It was just like one random comment somewhere. But then, so what they said is in Gen.G's announcement, it says welcome him back to the team, which doesn't sound weird anyway. But yeah, it doesn't say it also doesn't say like welcome back to the roster as a six man or anything. Like it doesn't clarify anything really.
Yeah, there's no detail.
But then when Lakia been slow, hold on. Yeah, when he quote tweeted it, and then he says, "I don't know what will happen, but I'll do my best." But and again, that could just be like, I don't know.
Stage 2 Pacific.
Yeah, like that. And when I read it with the mindset of he could be on the coaching staff at least for now, when I read that, I was like, oh, maybe he's saying like he doesn't know if he's actually going to play or not, but he's going to try. But then also it could just be like, yeah, I'm joining. I'm going to do my best, and we'll see what happens, kind of thing. And it's maybe just a weird way it's ended up kind of translating. English, I guess, is his second language. So I could be reading way too much into stuff because of some random pleb said on Twitter somewhere that he was going to be a coach, and then I've kind of picked up on it and ran away with it. But it's interesting because
You never know.
they've not really clarified either way how he's going to fit in, who's going to be stepping down. So it's a bit of a guessing game, I guess, until we see if and when he actually does play. There we go. That'd be interesting.
Yeah. I think that when it comes to Lakia, one more thing is I think that he really brings kind of that depth of veteran experience that this team would be like better served by, like in terms of leadership and stuff. So I think that's something that could be very important here. That said, though, I mean, as a coach, I feel like Lakia still has a very long storied career ahead of him if he plays his cards right. I feel like this player, he's still like, capable of like being a beast on the server. So yeah, I think that, maybe at least I would want to see him play rather than coach.
Yeah.
But I also still remember that moment, like first time that I really like the thing that cemented Lakia in my brain was it was on a sense. I don't remember the tournament, but he has a gun. I think it was overtime or a winning round or something. Like 13, I think it was like 12-11 or 13-12. I'm not sure exactly of the score, but yeah, my man, he's in a 1v2. He has like a rifle. He runs through a killjoy molly, just jumps into sight, doesn't even recon, does not care players around, probably contributed to winning that game. So I feel like, yeah, there were so many moments during Master Shanghai as well where he felt like ice cold. And yeah, I would personally love to see Lakia back on a team. So I would hope Gen.G picked him up for a player.
Yeah.
I would be, I think, leaning between coach and player, I would hope that he's there on a player at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel
Going by
like
their performance this year, they could use some Lakia coldness.
yeah, it's good. It's a good mention as well. You said about like the mental side of it, because that seemed to be like at Toronto. That seemed to be the biggest crutch for Gen.G. Like in terms of just like raw skill, they looked like they could have been the best team. But then it seemed like in maps when as soon as things started going south, like even when like remember the one again, I can't remember what round it was in the tournament when they were playing Fnatic basically, and they were literally like 12-7 up. And then I think it was like Texture missed a defuse by like a 1 pixel basically, and Fnatic won the round, and then they just collapsed and lost the map. And
Yeah, I remember that map. That was difficult.
yeah, and then I interviewed Munchkin during Toronto and asked him. I think it was after they'd been eliminated basically, and I kind of just said like, I don't know, like what do you think is the difference of you like actually winning one of these tournaments, and like what's the thing missing? And his answer was just like, oh, we've got some players that have never played at this level before, or like a global before, and I think that's the reason basically. Like kind of throwing the new players under the bus. And then when you look at it, it was only like actually pretty much all their players had not bad global experience, and the wider response to that was just like, actually, it's probably as the IGL, if anything, it's on him to try and stop them collapsing like that. So maybe if they got someone that can help out in that way as well, keep their heads cool when things start getting a bit shaky. And that could maybe even be from the coaching booth as well. You never know, with a decent chat and a timeout. But yeah, we'll see. Let's move slightly north then, and let's have a chat about Wolves, who were the darlings of Toronto, so everyone's new favorite team. Rightfully so. They're all very lovable and kind of came out of nowhere to storm to third place. But yeah, someone who like doesn't really watch much of China, I just kind of I'll see like a few posts every now and again, and then it seemed to be like each week I just see Sui Fat just like with a new post that's like, sorry, we didn't do well this week, and the next week, sorry guys, it's really bad, we're going to improve, and then suddenly it gets to the point it's like, okay, they're out of playoffs, and it just seems like everything's kind of collapsing for Wolves. Yeah, what do you think's going on there?
Well, I mean, the phrase Cinderella run kind of exists for a reason. And I feel like Toronto, in a lot of ways, Wolves were, they were coming to their first international event. Everybody was excited. There was a lot of hype. They were coming off of like a pretty decent performance in China. I mean, compared to like their previous years. So yeah, I think things were definitely going well. I also know that they've got a pretty rough and tough Southeast Asian coach. I think Fade used to coach in the MYSG circuit, and since he's been with Wolves this year, I think they also got a new analyst, the guy who used to work with Lita. I forgot. I remember his actual name, but not his gamer tag, which is kind of weird. But anyway, yeah. So they got like some new staff. They got like some roster shuffles, and I think that this year has been the best that they've looked. Of course, in Toronto, they were able to kind of like power through, face off, like come third. Of course, they lost to Fnatic and PaperX, and I think that they only lost to those. I think that they only lost to Fnatic in the playoffs, which is kind of insane if you think about it. So yeah, Fnatic and PaperX not exactly the easiest teams that you want to keep facing, and yeah, facing Fnatic twice in the playoffs is not anybody's idea of a good time. So a little bit difficult for them. But yeah, I think that Fade mentioned that there were like a lot of changes in terms of the meta, and also with mainly the map rotation happening. They lost two of the best maps that they like to play. So because of that being the case, they didn't have enough time to prepare, because China also starts much earlier than the other stages. So I think all of these were major factors. That said, I mean, it's still pretty abysmal because, dude, they won like the fourth game of their playoffs after 3 losses in a row. And the last game that they had to do, all they had to do was win against the only other team that was below them in that group bracket, which was a team with 0 wins compared to their 1. And they still lost it in like, yeah, across 3 maps. And I mean, it was close. It was a very hard fought series. It was like, I mean, it's Valorant. Anybody can have a bad game at some day. But yeah, compared to Toronto, Wolves definitely looked like much, much more sloppy this time.
Yeah. And I guess it's like maybe a question of maybe just, well, I was gonna say maybe this is their level. I feel like this should still be below expectations for sure. But it's like you say, like that run at Toronto is just, I guess it's just totally shifted expectations. Like coming into the tournament, everyone pretty much had them as like last place in terms of like power rankings and stuff. No one expected anything at all. And then they just took all this momentum and they just kept going and going and going. And it does make you wonder a bit if, like, yeah, maybe they shouldn't be quite this bad, but maybe they're just not one of those teams that we're going to see much at these events, sadly, because obviously we liked, it was nice seeing the vibes and everything, and yeah, Suifat was like a superstar overnight pretty much. He said on it, so he posted saying, our performance, discipline, tactics, and form were incredibly different. Let everyone down time and time again. As a captain IGL, I did not lead this team to victory. I'm so sorry. I mean, you could get like, you can understand meta changes, and again, maybe like it was just momentum and vibes that kind of got them so far in Toronto. But then for the IGL to come out and mention like discipline as well, like that doesn't sound great. Yeah, that's not an ideal look, I suppose. There is a chance they can get to champ still, but then yeah, they're out of playoffs now, or they're not in players' contention, and it's just completely out of their hands, isn't it? So I think like you've got, I'm trying to remember who you've written here as the ones ahead of them in points. Is it so BLG, XLG, EDG?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're
All the
already
G teams.
ahead.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And yeah, given that like the top 2 automatically go through, for Wolves the ideal thing is 2 of those 3 being in the top 2, obviously, and then that means that the third and fourth next highest teams in championship points would go to Paris. So yeah, as long as like one of those 2, or sorry, as long as 2 of those 3 are in the final, then things aren't so doomed for Wolves. But you never know. If there's like some random team does like a good playoffs run that isn't already in the top 4 in the points, then Wolves are done for basically. So yeah, it's a real shame, because like, it did kind of feel like they were like the next crop of stars, and then they're just done basically. Yeah. Not much to say other than it's just
it's
sad.
a little painful.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, we've seen some teams have like absolutely terrible performances over like, several years, and suddenly, turn things around. So, I mean, they could turn things around over a stage. I still remember, I mean, look, PaperX won Toronto, but my God, let me tell you, pre-stage, like what was it, stage one? Yeah, stage one. Their road to playoffs was not a fun road if you were watching as a Paper X fan. It came down to the wire. They almost like it came down to the last game of the group stage for them to make it to Toronto. Sorry, make it to playoffs, and then they barely qualified for Toronto. They were like
Yep.
the third place team. Like they qualified by the skin of their teeth, and they ended up lifting a trophy. And everyone was so cynical about this. I remember even Sideshow was like, "Are they gonna go on a run?" I feel like every time this man says this, a team ends up going on a run. So let's see if anybody. He did the same thing for EG, and they won champions in 23, bro. So I don't know at this point. I feel like the drinks could work. So
Yep.
maybe somebody can pull some dark magic for Wolves. Get them going. RNG could be in their favor. They could make it to champions, and if they do make it to champions, maybe they'll be in a better spot for it, because I think that their coach also mentioned, with EWC and Toronto being so close to each other, and China starting immediately after, there was just like genuinely no time for them to
Yeah.
prep and stuff, which I can kind of see, because America starts like a whole two weeks after China does, so something like that
Sure.
could definitely make a difference.
And to be fair, in terms of saying also like that just one run, like it was just a one-off Cinderella run and those kind of things. I feel like in a team game like that, like I can't remember very many, if any, times in like since I've covered Valorant and League, obviously both team games. I can't remember a time I've seen a run like that at a global event. Like I can get you have playoff runs and you come out of nowhere and whatever, but for a team to go to a global event from a region that's meant to be the weaker region as well, so it's not like the one that springs to mind is in League of Legends in 2022, the World Championship that was won by DRX, who nobody thought had any chance of winning it, and then they came out and won. The thing is, though, they were like the third seed, I think, from Korea, which is the strongest region in League of Legends. So even though they were like meant to be really weak and weaker than a lot of the Chinese teams at that tournament, they were still from one of the stronger regions. It's not that crazy to think that a third seed from the best region could make a run. But for Wolves to come in, yeah, as a team from China, everyone wrote them off entirely, and then they got to third place. It clearly was like vibes, like there was. It definitely helped, like the vibes were really good, but I find it difficult to completely write it off in that way. Like if it's like a one-on-one sport or one-on-one esport, you can get it. Like you can just have you can ride that wave as a single person, but as a team, I can't imagine that that's totally a one-off. If anything, the one-offs happen the other direction, where things just kind of crumble for a bit and then they come back. I kind of feel like I've retconned the Paper X start of the season a bit, because when you go back and look at the teams that they lost to, I don't feel like it was even that bad. I think there was one loss in kickoff to DFM that was like inexcusable, but then I forget who else I can't remember who else beat them in kickoff. I think it was DRX. Was it DRX or T1 or something like that? Like it was I'm sure it was one of the finalists.
Definitely. Yeah, it's definitely one of those. So I'm just gonna look it up. I don't mind.
Yeah, that's fine.
Kickoff Pacific.
Because I feel like the two kickoff losses that got them eliminated, one of them was DFM, and I think they had like a 13-1 map loss in that as well. So that clearly that you can't make excuses for that one. But then the rest of them, all their losses at the start of the season, I don't feel that bad. Yeah, they lost to T1 in their first match in kickoff. Then their second loss that eliminated them was to DFM. Fine, that one's inexcusable. And then when they were 0-3 in
one is excusable, yeah. Seeing T1 won the trophy, yeah,
exactly,
it's excusable for sure.
But then DFM, I don't feel like it is quite excusable. But then in stage one, when they were 0-3, the losses were to DRX, Gen.G, and then Boom, and that was at the time when Boom were like 4-0 or went 4-0.
Yeah,
and were like they were on their massive momentum. And then after that, PRX were back to normal. So I don't feel like those losses were that bad when you look back at it. At least just like looking at the names of who they lost to and the context of where they were at the time. Yeah, that's my 2 cents. I'm slightly behind on the production. I should have switched something, so I'm going to fill for 5 seconds while I do that. And
no worries.
There we go. We are ready, and we can talk about the next thing, which is this was your first piece actually on the Hot Spawn that we'll talk about now, which was your interview with Alfajer, which has he's gone slightly controversial, mostly thanks to me, I think, like truncating the headline a little bit. But we'll get to that. First of all, we'll talk about what he's actually said, because I think one bit that was really interesting about this, and I would urge everyone watching to obviously go and read it or watch. We got the video version on YouTube as well. But one thing you asked him was about looking ahead to champs. Obviously, Fnatic had the 2 global final losses in a row in Toronto and in Riyadh. And think I've skipped past the part where you asked him. So here we go. So looking ahead to champs, you asked him, your goal obviously would be to win champs. Who do you think are your biggest opponents in that road? And Alfajer said, to be honest, I don't see any one opponent. No, I think we're the best team. We're the best team in the world right now. We just couldn't show it twice. We had the chance to show twice. That's why we said it. He kind of, I forget the phrase, but he's kind of like trying to not play it down, but hedge his bets a little bit later on. So this part will come into play when we talk about the discourse later. But initially, he sounds very confident that they are the best team. Which I guess that was the first thing I wanted to chat to you about. Actually, was our Fnatic the best team in the world right now? Because when I heard him say that, I don't feel like that is a big, like a massive controversial statement to make. First of all, like they got to 2 global finals, and when you look at in both of those events, I know like the EWC, the format and everything does make it maybe like you can't trust the results as much. At least it's kind of harder to take things from it. But when you look at the teams that made it deep in Toronto and then the teams that made it deep into EWC, like they're the most consistent one across both of them. Obviously, they've lost most of the finals, which isn't great. But in terms of consistency, I don't see how they're not the best team in the world. I don't know. Maybe that's my hot take for the week. But what do you reckon? Do you think that's like quite shocking for him to say that?
I mean, before I say this, I'm gonna make a disclaimer. I think best team in the world, as soon as you ask the question, it's gonna lead to like a bit of a, oh yeah, my team is better. Oh yeah, your team is better, and people are gonna bring their personal opinions into it, like case in point. But I think they are definitely the most consistent team in the world because no other roster core has achieved what this squad has done. Like, think about it. Forget even like the original, like first ever VCT Masters that ever happened that they made it to the final of. Like, I mean, that was a different squad, mostly different players. All of that is fair, fine. Look at 2023. They won the lock-in. They won it like in a very stunning fashion. They proved that they have what it takes to dig in deep. They win the next tournament, Tokyo, like barely like breaking a sweat. They make it look so easy. They've qualified for almost every international consistently, with the exception of course, the first one of this year, I think. But aside from that, they've just been incredibly consistent. And how many other teams can say that? Like, if they don't come first, most of the time in a final, they've come second. Every time they've made like they've just been insanely great in terms of placement, in terms of having like individual players pop off, in terms of statistics, in terms of overall performances at global events, and no other team even I think comes close to having that kind of street cred that Fnatic has in that aspect. So yeah, I would say in terms of consistency, they are like the best team. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all you got to say about it. I think that's kind of the attitude Alpha meant. Like, the days that we lose, it's because of the things that we do just as much as the way that our opponents play. Like EWC, for example, 2 maps ahead, you lose through the next 3 maps in a row. Yeah, you got to go back to the drawing board after that.
Yeah. Well, so this is the thing, right? Maybe we'll have a look at some of the discourse around it. So this discourse has mainly happened on Valcom.
Ah, yes, Reddit.
So this is the first time Reddit's been pulled up on this show. I'm surprised it took 23 episodes, but here we are.
So long, yeah.
So I posted it on here, and of course you have to think of a decent title that's going to get people interested. And I felt that was like the spiciest thing that Alpha said. Well, actually, let me complete the quote. So, he said the part about we couldn't show it twice, okay? But that's why we said it. He says, we're not a team who is egoist, but I think we are the best team in the world. And if you feel in the day, I think there is no one that can stay in front of us. We can just beat everyone. To me sounds as though he is completely confident that they are the best team in the world. I don't see any. There's no doubt in my mind from what he said, from the way he's worded it or anything. I get like you can maybe say the bit of if you feel it in the day, maybe he's hedging a little bit. But the rest of it, even you say like, oh, we're not a team that's egoist, but I think we're the best team in the world. He's, to me, sounds very confident. So as the headline we had, or I put, I won't necessarily drag you into it, Zach. I won't let you take the blame from the 5 people that had a problem with it. But he's in the title.
Oh no, it's okay. I didn't switches with you. Don't worry about it. It's Reddit. I got you.
Perfect. In the title, I've got, we are the best team in the world right now. No one can stay in front of us. We can just beat everyone. Now, to kind of truncate a title like that is not abnormal. Like the dot indicates something is in between. I've done this a million times. It's not a problem. First of all, a lot of the community were not agreeing with his statement, and that's kind of where the first part of the minor controversies come from. And it's funny you mentioned about a lot of people, like people are fans of their team, and straight away they'll get offended it's not their team. It's funny that I see so many comments in here that talk about PaperX. Well, the first couple at the top aren't about PaperX specifically, so I'm not doing my own argument that justice there. But I saw a lot of comments about PaperX, and I feel like way less that mentioned Team Heretics by name, which are both teams that beat them in global finals. So again, I think that's maybe like people, maybe PaperX fans getting a bit defensive. But basically what people started bragging on him for was the fact that they lost the 2 finals. So you see like the top comment about that. We can beat everyone unless we're in the finals. But then, yeah, we also
Sounds
had
like a Heretics 2024 thing.
exactly, yeah, reverse Uno card. But then we've got, I mean, there was so I'll just go through it because I'm kind of defending myself and I guess us here against the masses. I get everyone wants engagement, but that's a terrible headline. And I read that, I was like, and this was one of the earlier comments, and I was like, is it a terrible headline? I kind of went back to read his quote again, and I was like, no, I feel like that's fine. And I replied to it, and I just said, he was asked about winning champs and who would be the biggest opponent in their attempt to win it. He said that he doesn't see any opponent, and Fnatic is the best team in the world. Like, am I going mad here? I feel like I'm being gaslit by Reddit the whole of yesterday, reading these comments.
It's firstly, sorry to cut you off. Firstly, it's Reddit. I would take everything there with a grain of salt. Secondly, it's Reddit. I don't think unfortunately, I might get flamed for this. This is also a hot take, by the way, so feel free to flame me for it. But I feel like sometimes reading comprehension isn't the strongest suit for a lot of people hanging out in that subreddit. Again, you can flame me for this. There's plenty of people with quality discourse that I love to engage with, but rest of the time, some comments make me wish that eye bleach was a thing, and I didn't have to really sit here doing this. So I just, I wouldn't be really bothered by it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I also did go through the discourse on the thing, and I mean, maybe it is. He says it's not egoist, but maybe it's a little egoist. But I think there's a difference between having an overinflated ego and having a justifiable ego. And I think that Alpha as a player, as well as Fnatic as a team, have definitely earned the former at least, they deserve to have whatever ego they have from the way they've been playing, the performance that they've had. And Alpha individually, like, look, I know Forsaken was the MVP of Toronto, but if you're giving it to somebody just in terms of the raw firepower that they had on the server, it would have gone to Alpha instead. Forsaken, of course, flexibility, IGLing, and other things that differentiate him, and of course being on the winning team. But I think that Alpha had such a standout performance at Toronto, and every single game or tournament this man plays, I feel like he just absolutely pops off. So if anybody, deserves to have an ego, this is probably one of the people that you can definitely give like a green flag to, like, yeah, you deserve it, bro. And I don't think I agree with you. I don't think there's anything wrong that he said. I think it's more something that's like a personal challenge that kind of Fnatic might need to, fix up here, I would say. Because yeah, I mean, sure, you came second. That really sucks. Let's be real. But you came second. That's still a lot of prize money. That's still like a really good performance. It's gonna look nice on your Wikipedia page when you're going through like the statistics. It's a W. We take it.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think it's a good point you say as well about Alpha specifically. Like, yeah, if anyone can say it, bloody hell, let Alpha say his team's the best. Again, two global finals in a row, and at Toronto he probably was the best player throughout the tournament. He's in the form of his bloody life. Can you just let him be confident? Anyway, it's fine. I know that people get annoyed with things. This one was okay. This one was a bit of a step too far, but it did make me laugh at the same time. This is my first time seeing an actual evil journalist outside of big media news outlets. Come on, mate. Jesus Christ. But to be fair, I'll do it. I'll be an evil journalist for a second. We posted the thing on Reddit. It's got the engagement. It's got people annoyed, and then that gives us more content to sit here and talk about it. So 5D chess, if anything, isn't it? Yeah.
I think at this point you want to stir up the pot a little, right? If you're just gonna be like, oh yeah, let's go, everyone's nice and blah da and doing super well. Yeah, it's Reddit. Nobody's gonna even care. Like, all the positive interviews that happen, most of the time nobody really cares unless there's like a good story attached to it, So it's good. And I think that it's nice to have people with egos on the server. That's what makes Valorant fun to watch. You want everybody to just be there shaking hands. No, you want somebody like Demon One standing on the table. You want to have like Kang doing like his legendary off shot. You need like excitement in the game.
Exactly. If let's say if it is egregious to say Fnatic's the best team in the world, who is the best team in the world then? I guess the only other one you probably could say is Paper X. Like, I don't feel like there's much argument for anybody else.
Best team in the world currently, or best team in the world?
Currently.
I mean, I would have said this before their game against Zeta. Like, maybe it was just a rough day for my boys and stuff, and here and make their excuses for them. But yeah, I mean, I still think they're pretty much up there. But that said, with the map pools changing and stuff, yeah, I mean, I think for me, at least personally, you're asking the wrong person here, Lee. I feel like I should be asking you this. Who would you say is the best team in the world? Because I'm gonna say Paper X anyway. Like, I'm biased. I'm a fangirl.
Well, I cover most closely EMEA, so I'm just biased in that favour. I would say Fnatic. Like, I think it's a no-brainer, to be fair.
Oh.
No, I don't know. I feel Fnatic
Okay,
just
yeah.
from like.
But no, aside from Fnatic, the same question.
Oh right, yeah, true. Paper X, I think. I mean, Heretics.
See, we're in agreement.
I'd have said Heretics if it was before Toronto, maybe. Like Heretics were in good form then, but the way Toronto went, and actually that's another one you can kind of retcon a little bit because they did only lose to the third and first place team, which doesn't look that bad in hindsight. But
the Heretics curse.
Yeah. But then I don't know if I've seen like quite enough. It's just a consistency that's like a bit of a worry for Heretics until they can show that maybe. Well, this is a kind of wider topic, I guess. Is like, is the curse fully fixed now for Heretics? Because in stage 1 they were looking really good and they were looking consistent throughout stage 1, literally just until the 2 times they played Fnatic, and then they totally just crumbled. But then the way they won it, they won EWC with a reverse sweep where the first 2 maps were like so doomed, and it really looked like they were about to get the biggest, like the worst smash-in from Fnatic they've ever had. And then that's the one that they actually turn around and won it. So maybe they are like the sleeper best team now, and we just kind of have to wait to see them in playoffs to actually show it fully. Yeah, if it had to be another one from Europe, probably, Heretics is the closest, I guess.
Yeah, that's fair.
But then what do we make
I mean, I'm not sure about the other regions.
Yeah, I was going to say, what about Americas then? Because G2 obviously would have been the one you'd say, I guess. But then again, like Toronto doesn't give you that much. It doesn't fill you with confidence because Bangkok and Toronto, I'm pretty sure both of them, they were more or less the favourites for both, and then didn't really. Well, obviously Bangkok, they got to the final. But then Toronto, they was like really underwhelming. I felt so it's difficult to judge G2 now, especially while they're while Baby Bay's stepping in. Things are going all right for them. They're 2-1. They've only lost to Sentinels so far in their group, but then it's obviously hard to gauge really and know what they're going to be like. Maybe coming into champs, depending on how long it takes for Leaf to come back in as well. Yeah, what do you make of their situation at the moment?
I think that overall it's a little sad to be honest, but there's just like such a big difference between like G2 and the rest of the pack.
Yeah.
Like if you look at the scoreboard and everything, in terms of the champions points and performance overall and stuff, like these two guys are just incredibly consistent and above the pack, at least going by the overall performance of the teams across the year that we've seen so far. And I think that for G2 in particular, playing with Baby Bay, I think that for stage two, honestly, it's pretty chill because they've already qualified for chaps. You
Yeah.
know, they're locked in. As long as like Furia or 2G don't somehow qualify, they basically have their slot for the next year in VCT. So things are looking pretty good for them in that regard. However, yeah, having Baby Bay there, I think might take a little bit more time in terms of at least synergy. And in terms of playstyle as well, I feel like Leaf is a little bit more careful about how he plays. I feel like Baby Bay is a little bit more reckless. I think, yeah, playing as going from like a duelist player, you know, his time on phase to switching to that more sentinel alert kind of role that Leaf tends to fill in on this team. Yeah, I feel like that could be a bit of a challenge for him as well. But yeah, so far he hasn't been doing so bad. He was literally going up against like, you know, head to head with Ye at some point. So that was also pretty fun to watch. I think last week's game against DG. But yeah, I think for G2, overall, they look pretty good. They came fourth in Toronto, I think. So yeah, not the best, but not the worst. Second and fourth overall at both majors over the years seem to be like pretty decent. So yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they win champs, but I would probably have them in my top 5 at this point.
Yeah.
Top 5 teams to make it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Because also, it just depends, like, how long is it before Leaf is coming back as well? Like it's still like a month more or less until stage 2 will be finished. So even if he comes back for playoffs, then that will be more than enough time, I think, to get kind of like reintegrated and be back firing for champs. But then the later it goes, the more maybe you start to worry, like, will Leaf have time to slot back in properly? Because when it was announced that he'd be stepping down for like for health reasons, it wasn't really mentioned. You know, understandably, it wasn't mentioned what exactly was wrong, or there wasn't really a timeline given on it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was right before EWC, which, you know, was still, it obviously doesn't have this kind of pedigree of the bigger tournaments. So people kind of thought, oh well, it's, you know, they don't care too much about the tournament. They'll let him rest up and they'll come back for stage 2. And obviously for stage 2, he's still not there. And we're a few weeks in now, and he's not come back just yet. So you do start to wonder, like, exactly when he might come back, and if it is very late on, you know, does that affect their chances at all? But then it's something, you know, it's a guessing game really, because we don't really know the details. So we'll just have to wait and see, I suppose. Speaking
Mm-hmm.
of champs, we have got confirmation of the host city for next year. So we knew obviously it was going to be in China already, but now we've got confirmation from Riot that Champs 2026 is going to Shanghai, of course, where they had Masters last year. I don't know if they mentioned. I don't think they said about the arena, like if it would be in like exactly the same place, literally.
No, I don't
But
think
yeah,
so.
China champions in China for the first time, which would be exciting, I think. And it's good. I mean, China's obviously like the newest region still, and you know, when you've got these regions growing, you need these events there. That's the thing that kind of inspires people. Like, from as someone from the UK, when we had League of Legends the World Championship quarterfinals, so wasn't even like the final or anything. We had the quarterfinals in 2015, and when I kind of got my start in esports, it was like through like UK grassroots stuff, and there were so many people like in League who are like established figures from the UK now that were at that event, and from that event wanted to start getting involved in it. Like, I was literally one of them. I went to that event, it was so sick. I was like, wow, this, like, I've got to try and start following this and getting into it more. And yeah, here we are a decade later, working in it and knowing loads of people that got inspired by that one event. So it's a massive thing when you got, especially a region like China, which is like the biggest esports region in the world. Need to get them on board as much as you can, and having the champs there is like the perfect thing. The only thing that would make it even better is if a Chinese team wins again in China. That would be pretty
Mm.
incredible. But yeah, what do you make of that, of the news?
I'm happy for it because I think that Master Shanghai had some really good vibes. You know, no matter who was playing, the Chinese crowd was always there cheering in full force. Like even, you know, I've seen like there are some matches in VCT history. I'm not gonna go like naming names and stuff for, you know, being very detailed, but having been in the arena myself in person, I've seen like some games where, you know, it was super empty or the crowds weren't as supportive, and that's perfectly fine because of course not everyone's like if you're from like Europe and you don't watch the rest of the leagues, you're not gonna care about a game between two other regions and you know stuff like that. So I think that you know I feel like after Masters Tokyo, Masters Shanghai was one of those regions that really had like that energy in the crowd, and there were like a lot of really cool things on the broadcast that were happening. I heard there was a lot of in-person stuff that was there as well, so I think that it would definitely be a really fun event to attend. And you know I think that I feel like this might be one of those events where we're least likely to see like tech issues because I swear the production in China that I've seen at least has just been top notch. So because I work with this thing called Project Horizon, and we do like English you know casting for VCTCN, and it's like a voluntary thing that we do because we like casting CN. It's kind of chaotic energy, very fun, and they have such good production, like everything. Their player walkouts, the lighting there, the crowds for every single game. Almost people are just there. Like even when the players come out, they're just like slapping their fans' hands on the way to the stage. It's just like so energetic and so like insane that I feel like it would be such an exciting event to go to or just watch from your TV. But yeah, go to would be like absolutely fire. Also, I feel like they would have some pretty good, pretty big arena, so hopefully people can get tickets easier. Because yeah, that's a very common complaint I see on Twitter. Oh yeah, the tickets sold out. What am I gonna do?
Yeah.
Stuff for at a reseller, I guess. Anyway,
Well, yeah, for Worlds, sorry, for Champs this year, the arena it's in France, I forget the name of it, like Accor Arena, I think is the name.
I think the final is Aquaria.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the League of Legends World Championship final was there in 2019, and I
Mm.
went to that as a fan and had bought my hotel and flights, like me and my partner, and then we couldn't get tickets because buying the tickets was impossible. We ended up getting them on resale for like more money than I would like to admit.
5x.
Uh, probably
Yeah.
yeah, probably like
Okay.
that. It was hundreds of pounds to take the two of us. But at that point, we'd got the bloody hotel and the flights already, and it was like, oh, and it was so that
Yeah, I
year
mean,
as
it's
well.
sunk cost fallacy.
Exactly, and that year as well, G2, a team from Europe, was the best team in the world, and it was like they were the favourites to win it, and it would have been like basically the first time that a European team had won League of Legends Worlds. No European team has come close since. They got to the final, and it was like, I'm going to watch a European team win Worlds in Europe. Like, we have to get tickets. And then we got tickets, and they got 3-0'd in the final by FPX, and you could hear
Oh
a pin
God.
drop in that arena. Like when you say about the fans not always being for every team, that was the most silent arena I've ever heard. By the time they lost, it was like almost awkward for everybody that was in there. Crazy.
I will one up you and raise this, and I feel like the most I haven't seen this one, but the most awkward arena I've seen was Lock-in. You know, like when Loud were 11-3 up in the final map, they were beating Fnatic, everybody was cheering, the energy was so high, and you know, the moment it went to OT and they went the first round of OT, silence. Second round of OT, devastation. Everyone's faces, no clapping, no cheering. They just leave the arena. They can't stand it.
Yeah.
They're like, I remember when they were getting like the trophies and stuff, and there was barely anyone left around. And I was like, yeah, damn.
Yeah,
That's a crowd, all
to be
right.
fair, at least
Very,
yeah,
very.
the one for Worlds, the crowd, from what I'm pretty sure everyone stayed around, but and like it was a bit of like golf clapping at them, but not much more beyond that. And to
RIP.
be fair, that I think that's like the typical, well, that's like the thing of Brazilian fans, isn't it? Like kind of cheering for Brazil, and that's
They're
about it.
passionate, you know. You're
Yeah,
there for your team. You got to cheer them on, and then yeah, you take your losses
exactly. It's
personally. You
very
know,
yeah, it's like a
sometimes
very
I feel like that makes somebody a bit more interesting.
yeah, and it's like that.
Another controversial take.
Well, it's the national pride thing, isn't it? Like if I don't know, if I was at an event in England and I felt one team represented England and then they got beat, maybe I wouldn't be that happy. I don't know. Anyway, um, we've got a few more bits to cover then. Oh, actually, one thing I wanted to mention as well, you were saying about like the vibe should be good there. I think that was mentioned in the announcement as well. When they talked about talking about Shanghai from last year. They said, oh no, I think they were talking about Oh shit, I don't know. I might be confusing myself. It was this bit here. They talked about at Shanghai there was unforgettable energy, record-setting viewership, full city takeover, and yeah, that convinced them that they were ready to have champs, which I don't think anybody would disagree with, to be fair. One thing as well we saw an announcement of this week was a bit more on. Sorry, I'm doing production stuff while trying to talk, and I'm not good at multitasking. Was more details about Valorant Mobile. Go, we've got it ready. There we are, production sorted. So, yeah, about Valorant Mobile, which from the West, I don't see too many people talking about it still, because obviously it's not coming out. Well, it's not coming out anywhere outside China just yet, as far as we know, or at least we don't know when. But I mean, it seems like it's going to be pretty massive. Like they've committed already to $200 million of investment in the esports side, which is crazy. And like, I'm still, to me, like mobile esports is still like a foreign concept as well. But then you see like the viewership figures are just like crazy. So many, yeah, for so many mobile games, and I guess they want a bit of that pie, understandably.
Mhm.
Have you played any FPS mobile games? I played PUBG Mobile for about 5 minutes, and I just this felt so unnatural and odd to me.
Unless you count like Chronicle on Discord with friends, no, I gotta say I've never really played FPS mobile. Like I've downloaded Fortnite mobile for the free skins in game, but that's
Yeah,
about it. I really don't think FPS and mobile belong together as a concept. I know this is a controversial take. It's just how I feel about it. I don't enjoy playing like shooter games on my phone. It doesn't feel intuitive after like, years of dragging a
yeah,
mouse around and stuff. So yeah, it's hard for me. But that said, I think coming from a region where I think that mobile gaming is the biggest market or one of the biggest markets. I can see the potential because especially when you look at like a lot of countries in Asia, I think that the device that is going to be at home that people are going to most likely have access to as kids is going to be that mobile phone
yeah,
because maybe the laptop is busy for work, maybe it isn't configured for laptop gaming. I remember having like a really abysmal laptop for 5 years. I know I graduated from college. I saved up. I bought my first gaming laptop. It was awesome. And 5 years later, it would run Valorant at like 45, 50 FPS. It was terrible playing on that thing for like half a year. So yeah, I can relate to that. So yeah, mobile gaming definitely makes more sense, especially with the the low cost of entry and everything. I think that's a very accessible market, and especially in emerging countries and markets and stuff where esports is just starting to be like a major industry. I think that it could really work in well because of that low cost of investment. It lets a lot of people get in from the ground up, and really, I like that about mobile esports. Even though I personally wouldn't want to play it, I'm lucky enough to yeah, be able to have played my FPS games on PC and continue to stay that way, hopefully. But yeah, I can see the appeal, and I think the way that tech is evolving, and especially with the crazy stuff that AI is doing, I don't know, man. I feel like somebody could come up with a better version of like a better way to play an FPS game on a mobile. I don't know.
yeah,
I can't think of one right now, but I'm sure somebody can cook it up.
yeah. With that bloody Neuralink thing or something like that. But yeah, so before I had this point from my partner was saying this to me the other day. She'd been like reading something about how they think our generation. I'll say ours. I don't know how old you are. My partner and I
I'm
are
28.
okay. We're in the same boat. We're 29, so we're all on the verge of the big 3-0, not far off. That
Tell
basically
me
our
about it.
generation is going to end up being like the most technologically savvy generation, because before us were the boomers that don't know how to do nothing, and then after us is going to be the kids where their phone does everything, and like it'll maybe like I'm not going to say computers and like PCs will phase out, but you'll kind of need them less and less because you can do everything from your phone. Like before, you need a computer to send emails and like for a regular normie to to do all your daily stuff, email for a job interview and whatever you need to do as like your main things, you can do it all on your phone. There's going to be like less and less need maybe for PC, and from that maybe like even in like more developed countries, maybe even their mobile stuff kind of not takes over, but will get a bit bigger as well. Yeah, because people maybe will have less PCs in a few years. But that's like kind of much wider thinking and probably getting ahead of ourselves. Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. Like, I just could not imagine doing it. Like I think I didn't even play PUBG enough to the point where you're not playing against bots, so it felt like it was really easy, and I didn't probably get challenged to see how it would actually feel to do it. I think the only thing I really played a bit more was Pokemon Unite, which is not an FPS, so it doesn't even really count. I just couldn't imagine playing an FPS, and actually, yeah, even Pokemon Unite, which for me seems like more intuitive, a game like that. Even then, sometimes it feels clunky. It's just the thing of not being able to feel the button. Like that just is such a massive thing. I think like if you're pressing in the wrong place, you don't feel it because it's just a flat screen. Whereas obviously, having your physical buttons, you know what you're pressing. I don't know, not for me, but yeah, it's clearly a massive market still. They've got some details. So I think there was some kind of conference that was happening in China where they released a lot of this. I think Anna Donlan was there, the studio head for Valorant. Yeah, there's a few details on it. It's going to run at 120 FPS. I guess for phones that have a
In-game
refresh rate of that.
popularity system, like, do you farm votes or something? Is it like the, teen idol contest or something, like idol contest? Well, what do you mean by popularity system? Like, if or is it something like a ranking system for how nice people are in games? Like, yeah,
Maybe.
this guy is toxic. This person is mean to me.
Well, it'd be
Oh,
like
they were nice, so yeah,
that
votes.
episode of Black Mirror. I don't know if you've watched Black Mirror. There was one episode where like
Oh yes, with the ratings, the ratings.
exactly,
Oh
yeah.
god, that was a messed up one.
And that would be me. Like,
I like
well,
to,
that's a good point.
yeah.
Like, as someone that played League of Legends for like 15 years, and they're very ban happy in that game. Like, chat bans and stuff. You have to say like basically nothing, even that mean or anything, and you get banned. I've never had a single chat ban in my life. Like, I'm the most. You say like you get a bit toxic sometimes playing ranked. I'm the nicest person playing ranked, and I'm saying that confidently, and
An anomaly.
that would be me as Bryce Dallas Howard if suddenly I started getting banned and my account rating was going down after 15 years of being a good boy. That would be me, the one losing their mind and just tumbling further and further down. So yeah, we don't know what that means, but replay system. Imagine if it comes out. This is going to come out in
Yes.
August. They're going to have the replay system
It's
before the PC version.
I mean, already I think that China already does have a replay system. Like
Does
just
it?
the Chinese version of the PC Valorant does have a
Right.
replay system. Like when they released, I remember like going through the different features. Like they had like a special skin release, they had like a bunch of other like perks coming through, and they had a replay system. And I was just like, damn, these guys are just releasing the first version of the game. And I had a hot take then. I am being slowly proven right, and I will stand by what I said. That replay system is going to do much more to bridge the gap between China and the rest of the world than a lot of other things are, because that is going to let them look at every single angle of every single game that they play in scrims, analyze so much, because I've seen the value that a replay system can have in games like Fortnite and stuff, when you're looking at like rotations, when you're looking at like all of those micro factors. And yeah, Valorant is a different game, but it's still a shooter. So I think that having a replay system on the level of Fortnite is definitely going to be better than just individually watering like 5 different POVs and going through it. Like you can still do the same thing, but it's so much more work. And I feel like, yeah, that optimization is gonna help China kind of like bridge the gap. And I think that they've already done it. Like, yeah, the first year of release in Valorant, they already won champs. They sorry, the first year of BCCC, and they already won
Yeah.
champs. Like, what more can you ask for from like a region?
Tinfoil hat stuff there, I reckon. Done that on purpose, give them a boost. There we go. So there's going to be 18 agents on launch out of the current 27 on PC. And yeah, this massive investment into the esports as well. So it says, oh well, we got some bullet points here from this random person that summarized it. Yeah, $200 million roughly. Whoops. Spread over 3 years. Oh well, this is just more stuff about the event. But there you go. So they're looking to push it as much as they can, as quickly as they can, which totally makes sense, I think.
Mhm.
Those are the kind of main stories. I guess there's a few other bits we could chat about as well. One thing I saw that was interesting was Valo 2 Asia that have done, like, they have their own podcast, and they did an episode that had Alex on it this week, where he just
Ooh, yes.
randomly dropped that they tried to sign Nats back in 2023. And it's funny, he said like he told Forsaken to speak to him to kind of like give him the nudge. see if he can convince him. Clearly, he didn't agree. So Alex said that that's his reasoning was that he didn't want to leave his little brother back home and alone.
Oh.
Very sweet. But yeah, could you imagine that? What would be the bigger difference? You reckon it's like more of a difference to PaperX's history, or does Nats? Because all the comments I was seeing about it was how PaperX's chaos would make Nats lose his mind.
Yeah,
So which way would it go?
I was just thinking that. I also feel like Nats is one of those players that has like a very substantial effect on a team, but I feel like he also needs to have the right conditions for it. I don't think Paper X's chaos would affect him too adversely, but I feel like his play style as a whole is like very lurk heavy, very like it's very like self-sufficient, so as to speak. And I feel like Paper X, yes, they have their individual star moments, but at least the times that they've been the most incredible, whether it was their third place finish at Tokyo with their sub, or the trophy that they just lifted, or even like their tournament run in LA. I think that those were the times when the team as a whole was having synergy. And yeah, I feel like if they were playing in that kind of a mindset, he would be like a good asset. But the times that if he's not able to, work as a team and he relies on more of that individual play, which I feel like he's doing less and less as he gets older. I think that there would have been a bit of a mismatch, but honestly speaking, I think that Paper X is a fantastic team. Nats is a fantastic player. Put them together, you're cooking something. I hope it's good. I would be excited to see it at the very least. I'm a person who believes in fun experiments like Bleedier. Sure, it didn't go well, but at least we got to see the beauty of it while it lasted. Maybe beauty is the wrong word there, but you see what I'm trying to say.
I think especially these days now that Nats has got like this whole leadership thing, and he's like the motivator, keeping everyone cool and level-headed. I think this version of Nats would be see what would happen if he's just placed onto Paper X. But yeah, what a player, Nats. That would be someone that would be really cool to meet and take a picture with. Don't you reckon?
I agree with you.
Don't you reckon?
Oh, I agree. I also must tell you, I got a fist bump from Nats, and I went and played Cypher, and my aura was legendary. Like I had clutch after clutch after clutch. I will show you after this, but yeah, absolutely insane experience. Like I loved going to Masters Bangkok. Like yes, I was a little bit sad that there was no Paper X, but aside from that, it was a super great event. I got to do a couple of I got to ask a lot of fun questions. I got to meet EDG as well. That was really exciting for me because my best friend in the world is like a huge Kong fan, and yeah, he wanted to get his mouse signed, but Kong was like, "Yeah, I cannot sign this mouse because it's not a brand that I'm allowed to sign for the sponsors." And I was like, "Okay, well, RIP. It's okay. I still got to meet him and stuff.
So
I got like
you
these
had to
really
run
cute
to the
stickers,
shop,
but
buy a mouse, come back.
oh no, there was no time for that. Like you would know, right? The timings between when you can actually talk to the players and when they have to go back for the next day and stuff is insane. So yeah, there wasn't no time for that. Also, I don't think that mouse would have been used much. Like it would have been a showpiece at that point.
So then all those like
anyway.
20 mouses you had in your backpack that you were going to resell, just wasted your money on them in the end.
I presume so.
Damn.
But yeah, it was. I also like. I mean, shout out to Yapto Asia. I wish they did more of these interviews because sometimes they find like some really interesting facts. Like, yeah, when I heard it, I was like, we could have had PRX Nats. PRX Nats. Imagine. I don't know how I can imagine. Either it will be the most fantastic collaboration of all time, or it would be like overcooked. I can't tell which it will be, but it will be glorious while it lasted. I hope we can still see it. Who knows? Like Nat's contract is another for another few years, right? Maybe we can see one.
Yeah, we'll see. I think that's all the stuff I had today. Is there anything on your mind? Any final bits you want to chat about?
Honestly, we've covered a lot, but I want to ask the same questions that you asked me. So, who do you think is the best player of all time and currently, and best team of all time and currently? Because I didn't get to pick your brain.
Yeah. I'm gonna hedge first of all by saying that I mainly got into Valorant like last year, so I'm not gonna pretend I'm an authority on the history of Valorant or like say over this long time. That said, like I feel like the easy one is Chronicle that I was saying earlier. So I think I don't sound too ridiculous saying that just from the trophy wise, and to have done it on 2 different teams as well. And yeah, even
Yeah.
like the 2 finals just now, I know like obviously they haven't won it, so can't take too much, but even that kind of adds to the legacy as well to still be performing at these finals. And also, it's not even like he's hardly a bloody passenger on these teams either. Like Chronicle is still sick as well. Um, Best player right now. Um, I I feel like probably Alpha for me, and I'm like EMEA biased. That's the league I probably follow the closest. So that plays a part as well. But yeah, I just feel like he's just a monster at the moment, especially from Toronto, and like his confidence as well. I just really like seeing him. I like Alpha's like personality as well. He just seems like he's just such like a
Mhm.
lovable guy, and he just um yeah, just seems he kind of comes across like so innocent um and genuine. And when I see him like playing insane and being full of confidence, it's just, like it's just nice. I just like it. You know what I mean? I don't know how to describe it. It's just nice to see. Um, yeah, it's very heartwarming to see him doing well, I think.
I can I can see, yeah, I can see why he says Boaster is like his best friend on the team, because they have like that positive energy
Exactly.
overflow that I really could use in some of my rank games, I swear, the days that I'm having these days. But I
Oh,
digress. But yeah, there's just that's what I like about Fnatic as a whole. They just have so much positivity and joy when they play. Like, of course, when they're losing, they look a bit depressed, but who doesn't? But most of the time,
yeah,
even when they're like winning or having like a bit of an even game, they're always like doing silly things, like chilling with each other, being like really cute. And I love that about Fnatic and also about the EMEA production because I think it's Melly who runs like the player cams. I'm not sure, but yeah, she does a fantastic job of getting all of the reactions, all of the little things that people say, the memes. I appreciate that.
just for every like 20 or 30 good ones, you just get like the odd safe comment about about things that shouldn't have made it through. Run the risk
Ah,
of it.
yes. Or the random screams that go
Yeah,
on, like the compilation of screams over like the game. I like that. I like that segment. That's a bit much on
yeah,
my ears. That's what I do like it.
for sure.
Takes me so surprised.
What were the other questions? I don't remember. Was it best team of all time and best team right now? Is that the other ones?
Both.
Yeah, yeah. So, um, I feel like of all time, probably it's probably a toss up of Paper X and Fnatic. Um, I'd maybe give it like I guess Fnatic's had like more success with the same core, but then I think there's something to be said for Paper X that it's not even just the same core. It's like for the most part has been literally the same 5 players, and I think that kind
Mhm.
of that gives them a few extra brownie points as well. They've had the growth with the 5 players too, um, yeah, and to like go through the finals losses and then finally win in Toronto. I know Pat Men was playing, so maybe that changes things slightly. But Mindfreak was still there. He lifted the trophy. He played his part as well. Um, so I'll give it a draw between those two, just so I don't end up giving Fnatic answers for
Mhm.
every question. Because then the best team right now, I think, is Fnatic. I would agree with Alfajer, at least from consistency of getting in 2 global finals. And again, like
Mhm.
probably Paper X is the one that you could maybe put ahead of them, seeing as they won in what is the more convincing tournament with the double elim. Like you can't fluke a win in a Masters.
Yeah.
Whereas like
Double MS. Yeah.
yeah, whereas the format like EWC again, it's like maybe a bit harder to take away things from that. The nature of Heretics comeback is very it gives you a lot of confidence that they'll be more kind of solid mentally moving forward. But it's not enough to be like, yeah, they're the best team in the world. So best team right now, best team ever, and the best team right now. I'll just give it a tie for both of them. I don't want to. I'll be nice to both of the big fan bases. Play both sides.
When I was doing my pick'ems, I remember like this is probably not gonna happen, but I'm gonna be delusional anyway and saying like, yeah, it's gonna be a Paper X Fnatic finals and my boys will finally have a trophy. I remember like being very delusional about this, but I'm so glad I was proven right. And I got that cute little buddy and stuff. So that was a very happy moment for me. But yeah, I remember watching Toronto and I think it was like 2 a.m. or something. It was so insane. Just what a game.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Best tournament I have watched, and I mean, there were some other tournaments that were pretty fire, and some games that were a bit more thrilling. But I think that for me, in terms of storyline, like seeing this team's journey, and like you mentioned, Mind Freak being one that stays to lift the trophy, Pac-Man's rookie event, just joins the team, barely gets a couple games in Pacific, plays on an international stage. I think the only player that has like possibly more aura might be tens, because this guy wasn't even playing competitive for a while. He got scooped, but even he was playing like in tier 1 for a while before he retired and came back. So, I feel like Patman kind of has that little bit of edge to it.
Yep.
Just the story of like talent being discovered and lifting up that trophy. There were so many things that finally went right for Paper Rex, and yeah, I don't think any team deserves it more, because Fnatic, they've had their moments in the sun. They've had like some heartbreaks, but they've also found success. But I think for Paper X, being able to feel that first success, yeah, it's exactly what it was. It was the positive moment that the world needed. The
Yeah.
current state that it is in 2025. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. That picture of Mind Freak and Patman like hugging while the rest of the team's in the background
Oh yeah.
celebrating as well. Like that's like a historic picture. Especially now that Mind Freak's leaving as well. It was like a proper, like, we didn't know Mind Freak was leaving at that point, but now you look back at it more and it's like the passing of the torch and emotional picture like that. Right, I think we can wrap up for today then. So yeah, welcome to the team again, Zahk. Good job on your first appearance.
Thank you. Thank you.
And yeah, all the listeners, thanks for listening or watching, and yeah, subscribe, like, all those usual things, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.